Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद् भागवतम by his divine grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 29, Explanation of Devotional Service. So the beautiful section, which is just one. So now we come to text 36. So text 36. Etad bhagavato rupam brahmana paramatmanah param pradhanam purusham daivam karma cheshtitam. Translate.
This Purusha, whom the individual soul must approach, is the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman and Paramātmā. He is the transcendental chief personality, and his activities are all spiritual. Purport. In the order to distinguish the personality whom the individual soul must approach, it is described herein that this Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the chief amongst all living entities and is the ultimate form of the impersonal Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestation. Since he is the origin of the Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestation, he is described herewith as the chief personality. It is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam. There are many eternal living entities, but he is the chief maintainer. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita also, where Lord Kṛṣṇa says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. I am the origin of everything, including the Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestation. His activities are transcendental as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma cha me divya. The activities and the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are transcendental. They are not to be considered material. Anyone who knows this fact, that the appearance, disappearance, and activities of the Lord are beyond material activities or material conception, is liberated. Yo vetti tattvataha yakta deham punarjan. Such a person, after quitting his body, does not come back again to this material world, but goes to the Supreme Person. It is confirmed here, Purushaha Purusham Vrajet. The living entity goes to the Supreme Personality simply by understanding his transcendental nature and activities. Hare Krishna.
So now, Etad bhagavato rupam brahmana paramatmana. Previous verse we have discussed bhakti-yogascha maya mana vyudiritaha, and there the word is purushaha purusham vrajet. Now both the purushas are explained, and now which purusha goes to which purusha, that is being very specifically explained, is in this verse. So this purusha whom the individual soul must approach is the personality who is source of both Brahman and Paramatmana. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that there is a Purusha who is the source of everyone, including everything, including Brahman and Paramatma. And he is therefore referred as Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, Mattaha Sarvam Pravartate. Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes, including the spiritual cause. Right? And therefore, he is one amongst the many. Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam, Eko Bahunam, Yo Vidadhati Kaman. And such a personality, activities of such personalities, and the birth, appearance, and activities of such personalities are transcendental. And therefore, he is being referred as Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Evam Yo Vetti Tatvatah. And what is the effect of knowing the activities of the Supreme Lord? Simply by understanding clearly Janma and Karma of the Supreme Lord is Divyam, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti. After giving up this body, one will not required to take another body. Prabhupada says, simply by understanding his transcendental nature and activities, Purushaha Purusham Vrajet, one can go back home, back to Godhead. This is the potency of this act. So somebody will say, Prabhuji, simply by understanding the activities, if we will go back home, back to Godhead, why to do bhakti now? So this is not the right question. Why? Because bhakti is not done out of burden. Bhakti is done out of love. And by understanding all these activities, if when we will go back home, back to Godhead, what we are going to do back home, back to Godhead, right? Back home, back to Godhead, we are going to do devotional service, and that's what we are doing it right now. And therefore, this is the potency of that Purusha. So this is the Purusha being explained. Text 37. रूपभेद अपस्मादं दिव्यकालम् इत्यभियते भूतानां महदादीनां yato bhinna drisham bhayam. Translation.
Translation. The time factor who causes the transformation of the various material manifestations is another feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who does not know that time is the same Supreme Personality is afraid of the time factor. Purport. Everyone is afraid of the activities of time, but a devotee who knows that the time factor is another representation or manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to fear from the influence of time. The phrase Rupa Bhedas Padam is very significant. By the influence of time, so many forms are changing. For example, when a child is born, his form is small. But in the course of time, that form changes into a larger form, the body of a boy and then the body of a young man. Similarly, everything is changed and transformed by the time factor or by the indirect control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Usually, we do not see any difference between the body of a child and the body of a boy or young man because we know that these changes are due to the action of the time factor. There is cause for fear for a person who does not know how time acts. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Now, this is the section. This is specifically from text 37 to concluding text till 44. We will be discussing, rather it has begun from previously couple of verses. We will be discussing the time factor because this is also one of the questions. This is 35 to 44. So now here, the time factor who causes the transformation of various material manifestations is another feature of the Supreme. So time is another feature of the Supreme. And what is the activity of the time? The time will cause transformations. And anybody who does not know the Supreme will be afraid of this time factor. What a beautiful explanation. What is the time? Time is Kala. Kala is another representation of the Supreme in the material world. And what is the activity of the time? Activity of the time is causes transformation. So causes transformation means there is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. All these things are caused by the time, which is a representation of the Supreme Lord. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, everyone is afraid of the activities of time. Right. We have one poem like Sandhya Chaya Bhivavati Rudhaya, like that it is. That when the time, everybody is afraid of time. And Prabhupada says the reason why people are afraid of time is because they are unaware that it is representation of the Supreme Lord. The classic example is that just imagine that there is a cat and And cat has given birth to few kittens. And one of the kitten is so afraid that as soon as the cats open the mouth, what is there in the mouth of the cat? The karala dranchta. There are the pointed teeth are there, and the kitten will be frozen, because kitten is not aware. Actually, this karala danstra are the danstra of his own mother, kitten's mother, and the kitten and the cat is going to take the child from unsafe place, although capturing in the mouth, to a safe place, right? So what is to be afraid of? So this is the understanding of a devotee, right? Recently, one very, very dear devotee of ours, he had to undergo very severe operation. It was like very big operation. 3 ultra super specialists were sitting. Operation went on for 7, 8 hours kind of a thing. So he was revealing his mind very beautifully. He says that, Prabhuji, he says that I was prepared. And he was saying that I was prepared that because there is always a chance that such big operations may or may not go very well. And, he was saying that when he was inside the operation, he was saying that I was seeing entire operation as the representation of the Supreme Lord. So this is the understanding of a devotee, right? So devotee is not afraid. Devotee, so the time doesn't act on a devotee from that perspective. So activity of the time, Prabhupada says, is to change the form. Kaumaram, Yauvanam Jara, person becomes, the infant child becomes a boy becomes a young man becomes a, and this is the influence of time. Everything is changing and transforming due to influence of time. And the same is true for everything in the material world. And this time factor is actually the concluding factor in the material world representation of the Supreme Lord. Text 38. योऽन्तः प्रविश्य भूतानि भूतैरत्यखिलाश्रयः स विष्णुआख्यदित्यज्ञ असौ कालकालयत्कलयतां प्रभुः. Translation.
Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, is the time factor and the master of all masters. He enters everyone's heart. He is the support of everyone. He causes every being to be annihilated by another. Purport. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is clearly described in this passage. He is the supreme enjoyer, and all others are working as his servants. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 5.14, Ekale Ishvara Kṛṣṇa, the only Supreme Lord is Vishnu. Ara Sabha Bhratya, all others are his servants. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and all other demigods are all servants. The same Vishnu enters everyone's heart as Paramātmā, and he causes the annihilation of every being through other being. Hare Krishna, another being. Hare Krishna.
Now Kapila Muni explains Lord Vishnu is the time factor, right? He is the time factor. He is the master of all the masters, Akhilashrayah, and he enters in everybody's heart, and he is the support of everyone, and he causes every being to be annihilated by another. So this is just the Vishnu Leela. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the Lord Vishnu is the supreme enjoyer, and everybody is working as the servant of Lord Vishnu. Ekale Ishvara Kṛṣṇa Ara Sabha Bhritya. And whatever way Lord Vishnu wants us to dance, everybody is dancing. Ekale Ishvara Kṛṣṇa. And the same Lord Vishnu is entering everybody's heart as Paramātmā and causing, the various, and this Paramātmā is there, Upadrishtacha, Anumantacha, and whole activity is being conducted. And look at from the perspective of Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, and then just like the mother or the teacher takes down all the kindergarten students to the garden, and they play sometime, they fight with each other, they are cajoling each other, somebody's crying, somebody's laughing, this, that, and the and the break period is over, everybody again comes back, and this goes on and on and on. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. And Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu is in Yoga Nidra, and whole manifestation is happening. Okay. Text 39. न चास्य कंचित् दयितो न द्वेषो न च बान्धवः आविशत्य प्रमत्तासौ प्रमत्तं जनमन्तकृत्. Translation.
No one is dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor is anyone his enemy or friend, but he gives inspiration to those who have not forgotten him and destroys those who have. Purport. Forgetfulness of one's relationship with Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of one's repeated birth and death. A living entity is as eternal as the Supreme Lord, but due to his forgetfulness, he is put into this material nature and transmigrates from one body to another. And when the body is destroyed, he thinks that he is also destroyed. Actually, this forgetfulness of his relationship with the Lord Vishnu is the cause of his destruction. Anyone who revives his consciousness of the original relationship receives inspiration from the Lord. This does not mean that the Lord is someone's enemy and someone else's friend. He helps everyone. One who is not bewildered by the influence of material energy is saved, and one who is bewildered is destroyed. It is therefore said, Harim vina na mrityum taranti. No one can be saved from the repetition of birth and death without the help of the Supreme Lord. It is therefore the duty of all living entities to take shelter of the lotus feet of Vishnu and thus save themselves from the cycle of birth and death.
So now these are the activities of this Purusha Paramatma. Na chasya kaschid dayito na dvesho na bandhava. Very similar verses in Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Which talks about ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya imai teteshu chapyaham. Which says, I envy no one, neither anybody is very close to me, but those who are. So here, no one is dear to the Supreme. What this means is, no one is dear to the Supreme means everyone is dear to the Supreme. Everyone is dear. No one is some specifically dear. Everyone is dear to the Supreme, nor is anyone enemy or a friend. It's like the mother having 10 children. It is not that some children are like, these are my enemy Chitra Putra and these are my friend Putra. No, all are children for the mother. But mother's behavior towards the children will be different based on child's activity. Some children, they will be slapped. Some children, they will be treated neutrally because they are just recovering. Some children, the mother will be extremely happy and cajoling such children. Why? Because, no, everybody is dear to mother, but still, mother's behavior towards the children depends on children's behavior. Right? And same is being explained here. He gives inspiration to those who have forgotten him and destroys those who have not forgotten him. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes there that the forgetfulness of one's relationship with the Supreme is the cause of repeated birth and death. This is the samsara chakram. Why the samsara chakram is there? Because we have forgotten Kṛṣṇa. We have forgotten our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. And because the sambandha gyan is forgotten, Kṛṣṇa bhuliya, what happened is we are engaged in some another sambandha gyan. Because we have to have identification. We are not serving Supreme. We have to serve somebody. We have to have some identification. And therefore, we have so many identification. Prabhupada says here, a living entity is as eternal, as divya, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Albeit the size of the living entity may be small. The living entity is Anu, the Supreme is Vibhu, but living entity is also Sat, Chit, Ananda, as eternal as the Supreme, as divya, as transcendental, as spiritual as the Supreme. But somehow, because the living entity has forgotten, living entity is suffering here. Just like a father having 10 children and he's a billionaire father, each child has $1 billion wealth, right? $1 billion is like 8,000 crore rupees. That's a huge amount. But one child has, has lost the way and he's forgotten that he's son of a billionaire. And now the clothes are tattered. He's just roaming around begging for some chapati and here and there crying. But has that changed his status of being a billionaire? He has forgotten it. But the status is still there. So similarly, Prabhupada says that the living entity is as eternal as the Supreme. But because of the forgetfulness. And this forgetfulness is caused by the activity of the living entity itself. Child cannot say, mother, mother, why are you slapping? Mother is saying that, because child, you did not behave properly. And the child said, no, you only made me behave wrong. No, no. I love you, mother says the child. And because of my love towards you, I gave you some free will. And you misused that free will. And therefore, you created your own activities. So Prabhupada writes here that the Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. Right? But based on the activities of the living entity will generate favorable or unfavorable reactions from the Supreme. Harim vina nasmritim taranti. No one can be saved from the repetition of birth and death without the help of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, right, therefore the duty of all living entities is take to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu and save themselves from samsara chakra. Text 40. Yadbhayat vati vato yam suryastapati yadbhayat yadbhayat varshato devo bhagano bhati yadbhayat. Translation.
Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the wind blows. Out of fear of Him, the sun shines. Out of fear of Him, the rain powers forth showers. And out of fear of Him, the host of heavenly bodies shed their luster. Purport. The Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dekshana Prakriti Suyate. Nature is working under my direction. The foolish person thinks that nature is working automatically, but such an atheistic theory is not supported in the Vedic literature. Nature is working under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. And we also find here that the sun shines under the direction of the Lord. The cloud powers for the showers of rain under the direction of the Lord. All natural phenomena are under superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu.
So now these are the majestic activities of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Yad bhayat vati vatoyam. He is the Supreme Lord. Out of his fear, the wind blows, sun shines, rain pours, and the host of the heavenly bodies shade their luster. Right. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Bhagavad Gita confirms that Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Chara and Achara Prakriti is acting because of Mayadhyakshena. It is working under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, under the guidance of the Supreme Lord. So it is very stupid to think that, foolish atheistic theory, Prabhupada writes, that the nature is working independently. No, nature cannot work independently. We have seen this n number of times. There can be H2 and O2 in the laboratory, and H2 and O2 will never come together unless there is a living scientist who is combining them and forming water. So nature means matter, by nature is very inert, is non-reactive, unless some living force combines them together. And this is being concluded by some of the greatest of the great scientists, right? We have seen the examples of Dimitri, example of Lord Kelvin, example of Pascal, Tesla, Newton, Einstein, some of the greatest of the great. They were all theistic people. They were all, God-fearing and theistic people. They were not atheistic. So Prabhupada says the natural phenomena are occurring under the superintendence of the personality of Godhead. Text 41. Yadvanaspatayo bhita lata cha aushadibhi sah svese kale abhigranyanti pushpani cha falani cha. Translation.
Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, The trees, creepers, herbs, and seasonal plants and flowers blossom and fructify, each in its own season. Purport: as the sun rises and sets and the seasonal changes ensure that their appointed times by the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so the seasonal plants, flowers, herbs, and trees all grow under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It is not that plants grow automatically without any cause, as the atheistic philosophers say. Rather, they grow in pursuance of the supreme order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is confirmed in Vedic literature that the Lord's diverse energies are working so nicely that it appears that everything is being done automatically. Hare Krishna.
It is out of the fear of the Supreme Lord, the trees, creepers, herbs, and the seasonal plants and flowers blossom and fructify, each in its own season. Just like there is a month of May, and then the May will come with mango, and so on and so forth. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that fear of the Supreme Lord means the order that is set by the Supreme. Set order. Okay, we have to set the order, and that order is set by the Supreme. And this is as the sun is rising and setting, the seasons are changing, and the seasonal plant, flowers, herbs, and trees. So one should not think that the plants are growing automatically. No, there is a cause. Sometimes in the laboratory, we may try to, try to modify and change, and therefore those kind of activities are not considered to be very Vedic, and therefore come under the category of Ugra Karma. Even trying to eat the unseasonal fruits is also not very, very Vedic, and is not sanctioned as far as Ayurveda goes. And exactly this is the Hiranyakashipu, wanted to do. Hiranyakashipu wanted to control the material nature, which is under the control of the Supreme Lord, but he wanted to control the material nature in such a way that everything should happen according to his direction and his will. By the way, I hope all of you must have seen the Mahavatar Narasimha movie. It's a fascinating watch, amazing movie, 2 hours. It's a must watch movie. So this is, Prabhupada says, the Lord has infinite energies. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. And the Shaktis are working so flawless that it appears that there is no controller. Right. न तस्य कार्यं करणं च विद्यते न तत्सम अधिकस्य दृश्यते परास्य शक्तिर्विविधैव श्रूयते Swabhaviki means appears as if it is automatic. Sometimes you may have a business and where the owner of the business is foaming at the mouth, working hard, and everybody knows he's the owner and he's the manager. And sometimes somebody has a well set business, somebody is an infant business and somebody is a mature business. And the business is so mature, the things and processes are so set that hardly anybody knows that who is the owner. Like, how many of you know who is the owner of the Walmart, which is like the richest family in the world? They are not, you will not find them in Walmart store, or D-Mart. India example is a D-Mart. You will not find Radhakishan Damani shouting at somebody, "Arey, get some Surf Excel for him, get Dalda for him, get, a plastic bucket for him." No, systems are set. And what to speak of the Supreme Lord? It is so natural. Swabhaviki, Jnana Bala Kriyacha, Jnana Shakti, Bala Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Ichha Shakti is working so naturally that it is very difficult not to conclude that it's all automatic. Right? This is the super excellence of the personality of Godhead. Text 42. Stravanti sarito bhita na utsarpati dhayat agnirinde sagiribi bhuknamajjati yadbhayat. Translation.
Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the rivers flow and the ocean never overflows. Out of fear of Him only does fire burn and does the earth, with its mountains not sink in the water of the universe. Purport: we can understand from the Vedic literature that this universe is half filled with water, on which Garbhodakshayi Vishnu is lying. From his abdomen, a lotus flower has grown, and within the stem of that lotus flower, all the different planets exist. The material scientist explains that all these different planets are floating because of the law of gravity or some other law. But the actual lawmaker is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we speak of law, we must understand that there must be a lawmaker. The material scientist can discover laws of nature, but they are unable to recognize the lawmaker. From Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we can know who is lawmaker is. The lawmaker is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said here that the planets do not sink since they are floating under the order or energy of the Supreme Godhead. They do not fall down into the water which covers half the universe. All the planets are heavy with their various mountains, seas, oceans, cities, places, and buildings, and yet they are floating. It is understood from this passage that all the other planets that are floating in the air have oceans and mountains similar to those on this planet.
Stravanti savito bhita. Out of the fear is the order. Out of the order of the Supreme Lord, rivers flow and oceans do not flow. You just cannot reverse. Rivers stop and oceans flowing. That will be creating havoc, right? So rivers flow and oceans don't flow. Out of his order, fire burns and the earth with all the huge mountains does not sink in the water of the universe. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that from the Vedic literature, we understand the universe, half the universe is filled with the Garbhodak water where Garbhodakshayi Vishnu is lying. And the whole creation is floating afloat, right? Now, this cannot be understood by the material scientist. Why? Because the material scientist is lost only in the law. And law is also, sometimes we study something, law as a law, and we think, oh, law has come. Law is, all the laws, most of the laws are basically regression models. Regression models means, you have some observation, you have some effect, you consider something as a cause, you consider something as an effect, and you try to relate and just fitting some curve like y is equal to mx plus c. And if it is more complex, you fit in ax square plus bx plus c, and then higher degree of polynomial, and then it becomes a law. And that's what it is, Ohm's law and all those laws are. So laws are nothing but the regressions of the observation. Regression means a mathematical, statistical regression of the whatever being observed, right? But by understanding law, the natural question should have, who is the lawmaker, right? Law simply cannot come on its own. And if everything is giving tension to everybody else, tension in the sense the attraction, but where everything is floating. So science is clueless about this. So Prabhupada says, that it is said that the planets do not sink, and this is happening by the order of the Supreme. And planets are heavy, heavy planets, right? Planets have the cities, mountains, and all this thing is floating afloat the water. And what can do that? Anything can just sink in the water. But still this is happening, and this is by the instruction, by the order, by the bhaya of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada says this also means that it is not that only Earth is populated with a lot of variety. All other planets also have their own ocean, cities, and mountains which exist in different dimensions, as being confirmed in Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.